Okay, let's start, and I will look for our final panelist. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you today. Welcome you to the TechChill Roundtable, where we will discuss the benefits of the collaboration between deep tech startups and corporates. This roundtable takes place in the framework of Startup 3 Accelerator, and we have currently four fantastic people joining in to share their experience. I welcome Georgios Zampetas, Candela Sancho, Jean-luc Fretard, and Georgios Dafoulas. We are still waiting for another attendee to join us. I welcome you all. It's, as I said, it's great to see you. But before we move to the discussion part, I want to give the floor, the screen, to our panelists. And please give a short intro of yourself so we all know who we are here. So let's start with you, Georgios.
Okay, thank you for your invitation to the event. I'm Georgios Zampetas. I'm the Managing Director of RTsafe. I have a long experience in managing positions and leading positions in big corporates. And in my latest, let's say, phase of my life, I lead a startup much older than most of the startuppers, let's say, but with a lot of experience. RTsafe is a medical technology company that is already improving the lives of cancer patients globally. We have developed patented, FDA-cleared and commercialized the world's first individualized care solution in radiation oncology. And actually, we build, let's say, exact replicas of the head of a patient with cancer, head cancer, let's say brain cancer, and we give the opportunity to the medical teams to examine on the phantom if the radiation that they plan to deliver to the patient, to the real patient, is delivered correctly, killing all the cancer cells and without destroying healthy tissue around the cancer.
Thank you, Georgios. Welcome back, Vasilapostolos. The floor is yours to give a short intro of yourself.
Everyone, I'm back. I faced a couple of internet issues. Thank you so much for the invitation. My name is Vasilapostolos Ouranis. I'm the co-founder and chief strategy officer at Magos, where we are creating the next generation human-computer interaction device that aims to entirely revolutionize the interaction framework in extended realities. A little bit by my educational background, I have a bachelor degree business and management, and a master degree in management science and technology, and almost 7 years of experience in consulting and pre-sales organizations like SAP and Deloitte. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Candela, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. So, and thank you for the invitation. My name is Candela Sancho, and Detektia, that is the startup, comes out to the market as a spin-off of the Polytechnical University in Madrid, because we are all scientists, all the co-founders, and we wanted to take to the market a really powerful technology that could help to improve the civil engineering sector. So Detektia provides millimeter measurements of any ground and infrastructure around the globe without the need for ground instrumentation with millimeter accuracy. So not like the previous panelists that they have experience in management. So we are a technical team and we are doing our best and learning a lot within the process. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Jean-luc, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you. So good morning. My name is Jean-luc Fretard. Very happy to be here with you this morning. Well, I've been working for more than 25 years as director of innovation, but also managing director, board member of various companies from SMEs to Fortune 500 groups. And I founded several companies, even in those corporate as spin-off, so a lot of experience in that subject. And 3 years ago, I met the creativity and the entrepreneurship spirit that is more and more disappearing in big companies for many good or bad reasons. And it's a huge opportunity for startups right now. And in 2018, I co-founded the startup studio HOLA-UP with several entrepreneurs based in the south of France, and we have two activities: create our own startups and also accompanying founders, SME corporate and organization in their acceleration and innovation process. And Startup Free is part of this last activity. Thank you.
Thank you. And George, please, the screen is yours.
Thank you. So I am a medical doctor trained in internal medicine, and I have an MBA in health management. The last 10 years, I'm involved in evaluating startups and spin-offs of universities on digital health applications in clinical practice. In the last 2 years, we tried to systemize that. And our municipality funded a Gisemi Innovation Hub to support startups in the region. And I'm responsible for the health startups. And also we established this year a digital health cluster for Greece with companies and startups in order to support them in digital health.
Awesome. Thank you all. It's great to have you here. So let's move to the discussion part. And the crucial question is the reason why we are here. Should startups and corporates collaborate? What's your take on that? I will start how I see you. So Jean-luc, you are the first one on my right. So let's start with you.
Okay, thank you, Inese. So the question, should startup and corporates collaborate? Of course they should. And part of them collaborate every day with viable results. It's a growing trend. And we can see several new initiatives to organize this matchmaking. So there are many success stories, but also regrettable ones. It's just a story of opportunity and risk. And from the startup point, resources to earn before obtaining some expected results. And for the corporate point of view, the success relies on innovation strategy, but also culture and their capacity to adapt the organization to work with the startups. And in any case, both take advantage of the good image, impact, and the interpersonal relationships, learning how the startup is working and vice versa. So yes, definitely they should.
Okay, thank you. George, what's your take on that? Should they collaborate?
Georgios and George. So, okay. So I'm the George one. Okay. So, yes, I totally agree. I don't think there is a competitive issue here. It's not another commercial company that they should be afraid of, because startups are the bringing of innovation. It's the new blood, the new ideas, in the new kid in the block. And they could support innovation, all these big corporates. It's very, very well known, the example of Apple and Xerox. Xerox had already invented mouse and Windows, but they didn't know about it. So, and Apple made a big story. So, but of course, especially in the health sector, I'm aware of, and I have experience. Startups, on the other hand, they have a huge legal and regulatory aspects to be approved as medical devices, and they need a corporate for that. It's not going to work like the startup to become the corporate in 10 years, like it was with Windows or Microsoft or Apple. This is exception to the norm. It probably the best case scenario is to be bought by a corporate. So I think there is a very good synergy and a very good area for cooperation between startups and corporates in the health sector. I'm experienced.
Thank you. Georgios, you're next.
As I told you, I have a long experience in leading position in big international corporates before being involved in leading a startup. So I can assure you that if you are in a big corporate, apart from the case that you are in a department dedicated to producing innovation, you have no chance to raise an innovative solution. The rest of the whole organization, usually it is built to kill innovative ideas. Although the best innovative ideas should be born where the client comes with complaints or where an employee identifies patterns in a problem. In a big corporation, everything works consistently but slowly. Any new idea must gain approvals at several levels of hierarchy. Any proposed innovation must become a business case with limited risk, with assured benefits, while the innovation is much riskier than that. There are always hidden politics and non-official difficulties, and the main reason that innovation cannot blossom is that if you work in a big corporate, you are taught to follow the processes rather than break the rules and invent new ideas. On the other side, the startups are small, quick, flexible, and adventurous. So they can produce innovative solutions useful for the market, but they miss other capabilities. The startups have lack of resources. They have neither the distribution network nor experience how to build it. They cannot successfully commercialize their solutions. They put wrong prices, inadequate product marketing, and so on. They have not enough money always, and they have no access to the authorities. They do not know the regulation very well, and they cannot influence them. And all these disadvantages of a startup are the main advantages of the big corporate. All this shows how complementary is a corporate and a startup, and which is this is the ground for a win-win collaboration between them. And nowadays, with the current competition, that it makes it imperative. In conclusion, corporates must carefully monitor the surrounding startup ecosystem to discover innovation fitting to their strategy, and startups must approach the corporation that strategically align with their solution to propose a collaboration.
Thank you. Good ideas already here. Candela, what's your take on that?
Totally agree with my colleagues, because I will say also for the startups, I mean, collaborating with a corporate, I mean, you have like a successful collaboration, your technology can spread over the market really, really fast, because they have the contacts, they have the network, they've been dealing with this problem for a long term. So in addition to all the points that my colleagues have said, I will say that, of course, it's really interested for the startup. Like, you want to get a part of the market. It's big corporates, they are big names, they are mostly everywhere. So it's a really nice way to get to the market in a wide vision, let's say.
Okay, thank you. And Vasilapostolos, what's your addition to what's said?
Actually, I totally agree with everyone here. I see more or less that a startup wants to have somehow a mentality very close to the corporate, and on the other hand, corporate somehow wants a mentality of a startup in order to be more agile. So startups can learn from the structured way of working of corporates and the processes that support their different activities. But on the other hand, startups can distill the innovation that characterize them to the corporate environment and bring the agile and flexible way of working and the future-oriented mindset and support the corporates in their transformation journey this way. So this collaboration could be beneficial for both, for sure, startups and corporates. So we can say that it is for sure a beneficial win-win situation for both of them.
Thank you. So it's good to see that you're on the same page. So basically, we see that both of these parties come with different expertise, with different skills, and putting on together makes something great. So the next question, take into consideration that two parts are a bit different still. What are the best practices, the good things we can do to empower this collaboration, to make sure that it's indeed beneficial for both sides? Let's start with Candela. What's your idea?
So in order to collaborate, I mean, based on the experience of Detektia, I will say that, I mean, even though they are like really large name or they're a big group, still you need to keep a conversation among equals. I mean, we are both at the same level. We are trying to establish a collaboration. So I will say the startup and the corporate should be at the same level within the negotiation conversation table. And also I will say for the startup, never work for free. I mean, because if you start working for free, where is the moment when you have to stop and start having a price? So for me, if these two, let's say, things are, you met these requirements, like you are at the same level, and also you are getting some economic benefits, so you are not working for free. So it's worth to continue working with the corporate, because at some point, if one of these two are not met, these criteria, you might end up losing a lot of energy, a lot of resources in this conversation with this corporate that might end up like with nothing out of it, and your company might be destroyed and might disappear. And it won't be the first case when it happens. Like, you have put so much effort in trying to get something from a corporate, and nothing happens at the end, and you burn all your resources and you have destroyed your company. So, I mean, it's not, of course, there are many ways to start a conversation with a corporate. In our case, what has worked the best, we are in the civil engineering sector. So now the big companies, they always have their open innovation challenges and projects. So applying into these challenges is also a very nice way to start the collaboration with a corporate. So it really depends on the sector and what kind of product you have, but at least for us, all these the annual challenges has worked very well.
Thank you, Candela. Vasilapostolos, what's your take on that?
I agree for sure. Startups and corporates should establish a constant collaboration scene where the startups, on the one hand, offer their innovations and the new ideas, and corporates, on the other hand, provide their experience on processes and the way of structured operations. A good practice, I would say, is to be the introduction of innovation hubs within the corporates, so that startups can be incubated and establish a culture of customer-centric design, because we know a lot of startups start with technology, and during their progression, they lose somehow the focus on the customer, because they have to implement their solution. So there are waves of and fluctuation in the focus that they have to keep in their clients. So this will act as an experimentation and testing of new ideas and products across the organization that meet corporates as well as their clients' needs. There are, let's say, initiatives like this. For example, Intel has its own incubation program that provides the capability to early, let's say, startups to go there and have several, let's say, efforts and support and challenges for both technical and business challenges.
Thank you. Georgios, what's your idea of the good practice between startups and corporates collaborating?
You mean me?
Yes, Georgios, yes. Sorry.
Okay, excellent. I do believe that if a corporate likes a startup innovation, it will try to own it, mainly if there are patented, let's say, solutions. But before a corporate acquires a startup, there are a lot of possible forms of collaboration. The corporate may deliver in the market the innovation via its distribution network, requiring exclusivity or other benefits. Or the corporate may become the most significant and dominant customer of the startup. Or the corporate may offer resources for joining research or product management for completing the product development. For such a deal to be successful, are a lot of obstacles to be surpassed. The startup must be prepared to wait an extended period for the deal. The corporate is always terribly slow for the startup's habits. The top corporate management must be involved in the deal. In my experience, if the startup's champion in the corporate is at the middle management level, Then usually before completing the deal, he may be promoted or replaced and the deal will be at risk. There is much less continuity in middle management decisions than you can imagine in the big corporations. The two parties must gain trust for collaborating. If the corporate tries to take the innovation cheap, or if the startup hides information from the corporate, the collaboration is at high risk. In general, as there is usually a very big culture gap, although there is a common ground for win-win collaboration, I believe that there are threats for failure.
Thank you. So we heard three viewpoints from startups. Let's move to the more corporate side. George, what's your experience in building a good practice for such
I agree
partnerships?
with the three previous inputs, and I will speak again for the health sector I'm familiar with, because because the regulatory framework is very strict and you need a lot of time before a product is able to reach the market. So I have seen very often the big corporates to invest in a startup only after all these regulation red tape has been solved, which takes years and a lot of capital. So in the beginning, these health startups are approached by angel startups and the venture capital, and then by the corporate. Sometimes this is they lose a good opportunity. I think this is my belief. So I like the experience as Ouranis mentioned about the innovation hub of the big corporate in itself. This is the case study of Johnson & Johnson Innovation Hub. They invite startups on calls they make on the priorities they have, and so they let them grow within themselves. They support them, and in exchange they share their capital, their IP and stuff like this. So this is a good example also in the health sector. So I suggest this is a good case study. Another solution I have seen is the cluster. The cluster usually works for established companies and SMEs. But the last years, I have seen case studies in the health sector again, where they invite also startups in the cluster, not just SMEs, in order to promote innovation. And a cluster doesn't support with funding like a big corporate, but they support with a network of customers, with know-how, with synergies and partnerships in projects. So it's another approach. So this is the two examples I have seen in the health sector.
Thank you very much. Yes, I guess network is also one of the crucial things which is good in a collaboration like this. Jean-Luc, you know the both sides, both the startup side and corporate side. From your experience, how do you see what is the best practice for such collaboration?
Well, in fact, I think we must separate the big corporates with dedicated organization to manage the way to collaborate with startups, with dedicated procedures, dedicated decision process, dedicated even location, etc. From the other part, which are not organized to work with startups. And in order to prevent the main risk of frustration, the best way is to put in line very clearly the respective expectations and strategies for both sides. And that means at the beginning, sharing a clear, planned, start here, stop here, concrete and common objective in a formal plan. Because if one is looking for something and the other looking for all other aspects of the collaboration, that is terrific, and it must destroy, like Candela said just before, it must destroy the startup with no impact for the corporate. So in order to make it very clear and well balanced, it's important to make a formal plan.
I want to go back to the idea of innovation hubs, in-house innovation hubs and clusters. George, you outlined the meaning of innovation hubs and clusters and how they support this potential collaboration. Do you think with support like this, the corporates are now more open in collaborating with startups? What do you think?
I think they have changed the mentality. They, instead of waiting for the venture capital to prove that works and then to buy the company, then they can follow the track from the very beginning. And you can see this in the vaccines, which is not deep tech, of course, but it's deep biomedicine with the COVID vaccine. All these big pharma, they have not invested in mRNA vaccines for years, and they had the last year to partner with companies that already reached venture capitals, of course, but they missed this window of innovation. And I think this is also the new challenge for artificial intelligence, for example, in medicine. In artificial intelligence in medicine, many startups, they have proposed algorithms that are very successful, but they need huge money and investments to pilot them and clear the regulatory validation on clinical trials and stuff. So they need corporates to as deep tech corporates to invest in them. So I think the new challenges of the health digitalization in the fourth revolution, I think this will make their mentality change, and I can see this happening in my field.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Vasilapostolos, you also mentioned these in-house innovation hubs. From the startup point of view, do you think clusters and innovation hubs offer some sort of a safety feeling for a startup? Let's say it's a confirmation that the corporate will indeed help them grow, not just promising something.
For sure, 100%. I think that this type of collaboration can bring synergies that can move the technology and every solution out there in a more mature level. For example, from the one side, startups can gain expertise and knowledge from experts. And when they have to deal with different aspects, for example, creating a hardware solution, you know, it is very important to have the ability and the option of mentoring and coaching in every specific type of technology that you are going to integrate into your system. And from the other side, the corporates have a great opportunity to invest and help enterprises that probably they are going to utilize and use their technology in the future. Okay, for example, in case of Intel, we could, let's say, buy their chips. So it's a great opportunity not only to provide and expand their potential customers, but at the same time to buy this and invest in these corporations and bring new ideas and new business models to the market. So I totally agree with this, let's say, approach. I've seen that it works. And from our point of view, we are really interested in joining these scenes.
So probably corporates, before actually starting to talk with the startups, should consider an in-house innovation hub, some sort of sandbox, to actually see which startup could be a good fit for them, and only then do things. I think it relates quite a lot to what you said, Jean-luc, in terms of clear objective of the collaboration, and that it has to be written down in an agreement. In your opinion, how thorough this agreement should be, let's say, take into consideration that startups pivot, they change things. there must be some place left for movement, shifting.
Yeah, in fact, the objective of such an agreement, or MOU, or any other agreement, is not to precise all the details of the collaboration, but basically to define the main objectives, again, the duration and the different aspects, financial aspects, confidentiality, etc., etc. That is really important because, again, what is very frustrating is when one part is looking or expecting something and the other part expecting another thing, because there are two main notions that are really different according to the different point of view: the time on one side and the value. Time in a startup and time in a big corporate is not the same thing, and value in a startup and value in a big corporate is not the same thing also. So it is important to define the clear objective, because in such collaboration it must be only, I would say, only communication aspect, because it's very good for both. Saying that, yes, look, we are working with the myriads of startups, we are an innovative company. Well, and for the startups, it's good enough, because just this point, look, we are working with big names, okay, but it's not enough. So the second aspect is to define whether the collaboration is a kind of living lab for the corporate, or an outsource R&D lab for in the collaboration, or is it just a supplier and customer relationship, which is good? Is it a subcontractor and reseller collaboration that is, in my mind, the best option when it is available and possible? So it depends on several aspects and objectives, and the MOU is dedicated to such aspect, to define the rules of the game, and that's it.
Thank you. I guess it's all about the trust, I guess, as well. As you said, Georgios, that the collaboration is at high risk if there is no trust. So what do you think? Can they trust more, both parties, to each other, if there are agreements, if there is a clear objective, if there is a cluster innovation hub? What do you think, where the trust goes in this scenario?
I would like to sign everything that Jean-luc said up to now. I do understand very well that the usually culture gap that there is between a big corporate and the startup is a big threat for failure. Of course, any partnership with clear understanding of the expectation of all the parties is much better environment for building trust. Corporates and startups have much different cultures, as we said, and they could easily create misunderstanding. So a clear definition of common goals described upfront in a form of common KPIs that will be regularly reviewed and improved. It is the best way to build a trusting climate. A robust timeline with clear milestones and deliverables describing the speed of the development, the time frame for satisfying the regulations, as well as the targeted clientele growth, the customers' retentions, the rate of converting the leads to sales, additional to the classic revenues and EBITDA, are weapons fighting any misunderstanding trap. This is my opinion.
Thank you. Candela, I think it goes back to equality as well. So we are having these different terms, but it still goes back to the thing that there has to be a clear understanding. And you mentioned equality. The roles must be set out straight away, so nobody can go away from them.
Yeah, it really relates what Georgios and Jean-luc said, because I mean, of course, you are a small startup, so your first contact might be with one person of the innovation department. In my experience, we have worked with big construction corporates, so they all have their own innovation departments. So you might establish a first contact or second, but when you sit to have a conversation to discuss, if for the startup is the CEO or the CTO or the couple of people that they have the decision power, you expect at least the head of the innovation department and some middle range, as Giorgio said, person from the construction or any of the business departments of the company. But it just happened that you in every meeting you end up with the same innovation person that doesn't have the decision call. You are trapped. There's no way to moving forward. And it happens to us with this big corporation. They have a challenge. We were finalists. We all agreed on having a pilot. And this very same corporate was a partner of another promise a pilot. So in all the different programs, even the Open Innovation Challenge of the company and as a partner of the different European programs, we got stuck with the same person without the decision power and without the authority. So it's a dead end. We have 5, 6, 7 meetings in the past 8 months, and it went nowhere. And on the contrary, we have had meetings with other companies, and for the second meeting, you have the innovation head there and more people from the company, and you could see that there were goals, and Jean-luc mentioned, and there was a plan. Maybe it was like not too concrete on the details, but you have a plan and you can see there is involvement in the other parties. So that's why I say equality, because if I'm putting all my effort and, I'm hoping the best, I'm hoping the others to find time, because it's also important for them. Maybe it's not top priority in a big corporate, but it's an important matter. So that's why I mentioned we have to be equal, even though we know we are not equal, we are small and you are big, but it's an important matter. Innovation is important to both parties. So that's what I wanted to mean with equality, and it has been mentioned in this table quite a lot.
Yes. So basically, it feels to me that at some point corporates must understand what they want to do with startups and be serious about that, not just promising things they cannot deliver. As you said, equality and trust is mutual things, and both sides have to invest something, either it's time or money or whatever else. So thank you very much for your answers, for your time. Some great ideas have come through. I think we still have some time left, just in case there are questions from the audience. Feel free to ask them. You have 5 fantastic people to ask the question to. My final thought is that there is a great deal about collaboration, and it's kind of trendy, and everybody is talking about that. And if both sides can find a common ground, then good things can happen. So with the corporate resources and expertise, the startup can grow, while with the startup agility and innovative ideas, the corporates can add a new market advantage to themselves. So we outlined many things, but I guess the most important of them all is that if you do have a potential partnership between the corporate and the startup, there has to be a clear plan. There has to be a clear understanding of the roles, so everybody knows what they are doing. So there is trust, there is equality, and both sides deliver what they are promised to do.
A comment I would like to make personally, Inese, is the approach you have with the startup virtual accelerator, because we are one of the partners, the supporters of this project. Is this also, from your experience as a member of this team, is this another approach that helps the virtual accelerator case study you are supporting? Not just, we are a classic innovation hub with physical attendance of startups, and I have seen that everywhere. But this virtual accelerator concept, do you think it offers something different?
I do think so. I will let Jean-luc also answer this question because he's the mind master behind the whole program. But what I personally find interesting about the startup project is that it kills off the borders. Because take into consideration that everything takes place online, then we can onboard more startups, we can give more expertise to them, which could not be possible otherwise. And this network, what we offer, is a huge advantage, in my opinion, that for corporates to see what's happening around, what deep tech, innovative ideas are coming to the market, and for the startup as well to see, to get connected with people that are close to their industries and actually foster this collaboration faster. So yeah, that's my personal opinion. Jean-luc, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, thank you. Basically, this kind of project is the good place to organize day by day the collaboration. Improve, to be honest, is to focus on one, maybe two industries, verticals, because deep tech is everywhere. So that was the objective of the Startup Free program. In any corporates, any organization, innovation hub, etc., deep tech is the world. But on the other hand, it's in a limited duration, quite difficult to organize and take concrete advantage of this matchmaking. So yes, definitely it's a very good tool to organize this relationship, because we are in the middle and we manage the trust kind of between startups selected to reduce the time for the corporate, and we have the power to attract big names in the project. So that's good. And in order to be very powerful, I think it's a good idea to focus on one or two industries. But yes, definitely it's a very good way to organize concretely this relationship.
And another, you mentioned the geographical barrier, where this is also, I think, for big corporates to be approached by startups in countries where there is no venture capital practical. For example, in Greece, the 4 or 5 venture capitals existing are actually co-funded by EU with Equifund, because the market doesn't have venture capitals 100% private invested companies. So this, I think, the two startups here, for example, maybe they could they could share this problem. I don't know if Ouranis has experienced that. If he's based in Greece, I have seen startups in the health sector based in Brussels, for example, because there were no actually venture capitals in Greece 10 years ago. So this is a big problem also of how to match corporates with startups in some countries.
This, if I may, this is for sure true here in Greece. We've come this far in just 3 years, and we're planning to, for example, to run a fundraising round in 6 months. We have already communicated with the local funds, but the biggest bottleneck in our communication with the funds here is the lack of expertise in deep tech technologies. So the fear for them is high, and it is understood from our side, since they don't have the expertise to analyze the opportunities and the capabilities that a deep tech technology can bring to the table. But from the other side, we have to convince the global, let's say, venture capitals that we are creating something not only for our local market, but for a worldwide market. And you know, these accelerators is a great opportunity for this type of startups that they have an opportunity to present themselves, to build on the weaknesses, and to have the chance to accelerate several parts that are missing here in the local ecosystem. And I think for sure that accelerators is of vital importance for ecosystems that are lacking expertise, that it is of vital importance for the startups in these specific areas.
If I could add something, I would say that that's the reason that RTsafe has built it, let's say, a holding company in Dublin, Ireland, and via this addresses the international VC, let's say, ecosystem. While in Greece, it is all the opportunities very limited.
Thank you very much for your inputs. This reminded me of our conversation discussion before, that there is these clusters, these innovation hubs, these accelerators, which basically works on sorts as a safety pillows, like a confirmation to any of the sides that, let's say for the corporate, we can say this startup is indeed legit. So you can trust them, and if we recommend them, then the corporate knows that it's a real deal. And for the startup, it's the same way. When we say, well, this corporate is someone you should talk to, then there is additional quality coming in, and kind of we are working as a facilitator to bring these two sides together so they can collaborate, and this trusting moment is given.
Yes, just to add something in concerning the rules of the game for startup free. In that case, we decided a more important weight in the decision for the selection to corporates and investors than for mentors. So at the end of the process, the startups are selected by the corporate and investor side, not mentors. So at the end, the companies which are selected by the market somehow. So yes, it's really important to make this approach, and that's the reason why we decided to attract several investors and corporates from the beginning to manage this process. As mentors, we are just here to organize different aspects, to evaluate weaknesses, to give some keys to resolve some points. But at the end, the selection must be originated by the corporate side, and that is really important. And it's on the opposite when such process is managed only by professionals, even if they are good people with big experience, it's not the same. So it's really important to mention this.
Thank you. We still have some time left, so if the audience has any questions, feel free to ask them. As my final question, I would want you to daydream about the ideal collaboration between the startup and corporate. If you had your say, how do you think this partnership should be built? What's the best process to do that? So let's start with the startups. Candela, what's your ideal partnership? What's your ideal corporate? Maybe we have some corporates here and they will hear you.
Yeah, I mean, for us, what I understand for a good match or understanding, first you need to to show your technology, and they have to be an interest, a common interest, because maybe the corporate is just interested of, yeah, I want to say I support the startups, but it has to be like a truly interest. And then just to find, first, of course, you need a pilot. It makes sense. Can we integrate the data? Can we integrate with the corporate? Do we have common goals in this path? And if you find you have common goals, just do an agreement. It doesn't have to be like really detailed, but just have an agreement saying what are the steps in the upcoming 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. It really depends on the project, but just set up small goals, because if you don't do these milestones, small milestones, 1 year goes by, 2 years, and it never happens. So as we mentioned, corporates are really large. So for startups, we are always in a hurry. So try to set up milestones that we both can meet.
Thank you, Candela. Vasilapostolos, so what's your ideal corporate?
So based on our experience, and since we are creating a hardware solution, I would say that there are 2 areas of synergies. The first one is the development of the hardware part and the solution. So we need expertise, how to integrate which technology is the best in order to accelerate the performance and so on. And from the other side, we need the industry flavor. We need to know which is the biggest pain point of the end customer. So a blend of these type of knowledge bases would accelerate our endeavors and our efforts in order to bring faster our solution to the market. So I would say these 2 types of, let's say, common interest, as Candela mentioned before, a win-win collaboration, and every part of this collaboration benefit from each other.
Thank you. Georgios, what's your ideal corporate?
I would add to what my colleagues told before me, that a main issue it is that somebody from the top management of the corporate should bless at least the collaboration and assign a mid-management expert, executive, with deadlines in order to bring results. Otherwise, all the collaboration is continuously at risk. I believe that this is the only form of equality that a big corporate and a small startup could have. And this is very important. Additional to what my colleague said, because I agree with him.
Thank you. George, to you, the question is a bit different. So what is your ideal startup to collaborate with?
I think for the health sector again, because this is what I know, is that many startups approaching, for example, our innovation hub, and they have brilliant ideas, but they think that I think that sometimes they have not do that classic analysis with the pest environment and all this, which for the health sector is so demanding and so complicated, and they have big expectations for something, for a market that is very regulated. And I really think that a startup in the health sector should approach a health professional and a regulatory expert from the very, very early stages, because often they have very innovative expertise, technical expertise, but they miss the other 2 pillars, which for the health sector makes a big difference.
Thank you. And Jean-Luc, I will also ask you, what's the ideal startup for the partnership with the corporate?
I think it depends on the maturity. My opinion is, if the solution is ready to go to the market, then the best collaboration, whatever the startup or the corporate, is to engage a business-oriented collaboration to take the selling power of the corporate, and that's great. If the solution is not ready to go to the market, the best collaboration should be to tune and take advantage of the voice of the market from the corporate, and any discussion with all departments, from legal department to marketing department, etc., for a startup, which is of high value. So depending on the maturity, go in a project to tune the product up to ready to go to the market solution. And if the startup reached that level, go straight to the commercial aspect to deal collaboration, because it's very important. Just because a startup does not have any selling procedures, power, etc., and it's very good for also for investors to discover that relationship, a business-oriented relationship, is established between the startup and one or several corporates.
Thank you. I am checking if we have any questions in the chat section. It looks like there isn't any. So then I think we can wrap this up. Thank you for this fruitful discussion. I found very interesting things about you, so it's always a pleasure to see what you are up to. As it was said at the beginning, this roundtable was built in the framework of this Startup 3 Accelerator. Understand how to build a fruitful. I think we've managed to cover lots of interesting stuff. So thank you, Jean-luc. Thank you, George. Thank you, Georgios. Thank you, Candela. And thank you, Vasilapostolos, for joining us today. And I wish you a pleasant remaining day. Feel free to look around what's happening at TechChill. So once again, it was my pleasure, and hope to see you soon.
A pleasure.
Thank you very much.